ladies and gentlemen.
What is up?
We is back. I didn't even tell a joke yet. He's already laughing.
That's what we do in Africa.
They laugh in Africa. I hope they laugh. They dance.
Always positive.
They stay positive about the prospects of hearing a new CWA podcast.
Yeah.
Black, white, Asian.
Our podcast is all inclusive.
All are welcome.
All those in Indonesia are welcome today too. Just letting you know.
Be encouraged.
I like to encourage people. I like to encourage this guy to buy crazy apps on his phone. We'll talk about that.
Change towards the goodness.
We're trying to change toward the goodness.
Always.
Been a lot going on. Heavy stuff.
Some people are addicted to this.
We're addicted to a couple of things we're going to get into today.
Yeah, I'd rather you be addicted to like the word or talking to Jesus. You know.
Are you getting that?
Yeah. I mean, are you getting it? You tell me.
I'm starting to.
Are you paying attention? So yeah, man, Steve. Hey, is that your name? What's your name again?
Steve.
There it is. I got my own drops over here now. I feel official.
This guy. Yeah. We're gonna get to that, but
Steve.
I'm Steve.
He's Steve Clifton. I'm Chris Bird.
I don't have a Chris drop.
This is CWA.
Christians with attitudes.
Attitudes about what, Steve?
Christ, loving each other, gospel music, church, sports. I might actually have that.
Sports.
We don't own it. We don't own the rights to any of these, by the way. So YouTube, don't take us down, please. We're just, trying to make it out there.
We're just small guys in a big market.
I'm wearing a Superman shirt. Come on, man.
You are. You're wearing a Superman shirt. I've got a Dragon shirt today.
I'm a Leo. We're out loud.
Yeah, man. So hey,
what's going on? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
We missed y'all down here in Texas.
We haven't met in a little while. Every time we meet, it's like a chance. I want to hang out like in between podcasts.
We do, right?
I mean, at church for a minute.
Yeah,
but
we need to.
We don't get like long hangout time. So really,
we need to figure out one of those.
Podcast time becomes our just kind of bro hangout time.
Yeah, that's all good. At least we're doing that.
So
it's better than we could be doing worse things, Chris. I am sure of it.
Yeah,
but we don't do any of those things anymore.
But I mean, what's been going on in your world, dude?
Just a lot of working and man, check out the you been watching the Mavericks?
I mean, I got some confessions to make. Like yes and no. Like real fast. Like I've got a lot of weekdays that are filled with sports.
Yeah.
And like usually I don't get around to like watching anything.
You don't watch anything live.
I don't watch almost anything live, so it's always after the fact. So usually here's what ends up happening.
Can't do it.
Because it's already recording. Like I've already got it on the Bally's app or whatever.
Yeah.
So what I do, I'll be honest, I sit there and I go to my phone to the Sports Score app and I look, did we win? Did we not?
Oh,
if we won,
it's worth watching.
It's worth spending the time to watch. If we didn't, and not say, I mean, occasionally I'll watch one live and occasionally I'll see a lost live, but it's a long between that and hockey because I'm watching both. I gotta watch Mavs and Stars.
Can't get into Stars until playoffs, man.
And,
I don't know what it is.
I can, but I don't want to just watch them get drilled 6-1 either. So it's like, I got to be sure.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Yeah.
Hey, other teams in the Metroplex have taught me I have to appreciate the regular season.
Yeah.
Because playoffs are not, deep playoff runs are not guaranteed. So,
not here.
But because of that, I have to sit there. I have to make decisions. And I got to be like, I don't know, man. Like, if we lost, I'm probably going to spend the time. But tell me what happened. I did hear some stuff about what Luka is doing.
Scored 73 last night? Yeah, he scored 73 points last night. Come on, man. 73.
Luka scored 73?
You didn't know that?
I thought you were talking about when he got the heckler thrown out of the game.
Oh, he scored 73 points.
Against who, Phoenix?
Yeah. No. It was against, I went Phoenix. They lost
to Phoenix, and that's when he got the heckler thrown out.
Yeah. He scored 73 points last night. I can't remember who it was. It was a bad team. I should have done my research. But
okay, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one.
Watch that one. He scored 73 last night. 70.
I think he was like mad because of the game before.
73.
So my whole thing with the Mavs lately is this: like I've been frustrated at their just lack of any kind of continuity. They've had injuries all year long. You never know what lineup you're going to get. Like, I just want to see them healthy
all together
with
one
a
day,
set lineup.
Right. One day it's Kyrie Irving's team. The next day it's Luka's team.
Because if we're healthy with a set lineup, we could win it all. But if we're not, we're just average at best.
Fourth most in history.
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember the Kobe 81-point game or whatever.
Yeah. By the way, it's the 4-year anniversary of Kobe's death was yesterday. All on the same day, Luka scored 73.
That can't be coincidence because Luka liked Kobe a lot.
Yeah.
You know, he looked up to Kobe a lot.
I think that happens more. That happens way more in baseball. I feel like there's way more like instances of that in baseball. Obviously, it's been around longer, but in basketball, yeah, he scored 73. By the way, NBA don't play defense. This week, Embiid scored 70. Towns scored 60.
Yeah.
And then last night, Booker scored 60, and then Luka scored 73. He went 73, 10 rebounds, and then only 7 assists. Come on, Luka, you could have got 3 more assists, bro. Come on, 73.
It's probably a combination of things, but I mean, in the mid '80s, scoring was way up again for a while. You know, there was a time when 145 to 130 was normal. You know, and that was like in the '80s, and it went way back. Then it went way down in the '90s, and they were like killing people coming in the lane in the '90s.
Yeah.
And then now it's kind of crept back up to where it was in the '80s. You know,
if you look at that top 10 most scored points in NBA history, it's like Wilt, Kobe, Luka, Wilt. Like he was like the dominating player back in the 50s and 60s.
And he was taller than like every other. He was a tall black man playing against a bunch of short white guys.
Yeah,
so,
he dominated. But yeah, Luka's 73. I don't think he's the MVP though. He's not the MVP of the league. Embiid is the MVP. But
yeah, Embiid is just so consistent, man.
I do feel though, if the Mavericks can. Luka can will us to a championship. Dirk did. If Dirk can, Luka can.
Well, in a way, I'm gonna challenge that.
Challenge me.
Dirk, when he never had the full team around him, had never been able to will them.
Sports.
Yeah, thanks, Dirk. I mean, it took them adding the point guard of what's his name of a kid. It took them adding Chandler. The only year they ever won it was with Chandler. It took them adding Marion, and it's still functional. So. But Dirk, I don't want to take anything from Dirk. Dirk had to do his part to get us there. But other than that, just hanging out. You know, the usual boring stuff that we do at work and all that. But I mean, the Cowboys are in the playoffs too. What time the Cowboys play tomorrow? Steve, this guy.
Steve. Football.
This conversation was going so positively, Steve. It was just really, I was really in a good spot.
Cowboys.
But then Steve had to come. And
I love this app. You should have never bought me this app, or you gifted me this app. We'll get into that here in a minute.
So I guess we got to talk about the NFL.
Yeah, because we haven't, because we had a podcast since they lost. What happened? I mean, they made it to the first round, right? We played. Who beat us?
Green Bay. The youngest team in the NFL beat us.
Jordan Love was a hoss in that game, throwing touchdowns off his back foot.
Yeah, their quarterback, who's still young, 4 years old, whatever. He looked like a guy at age 30 who's been running an offense for years. Should have looked and didn't look, and so it was the usual Cowboys disappointment. But what's annoying about the Cowboys is when they disappoint you, they don't just slightly disappoint you. They don't just like barely lose at the end of a close game where you say, "Man, hey, we fought hard. That was just a better team today." They got taken out behind the tool shed and spanked like with a paddle with holes, like naked butt. It was so bad. It's such a spanking.
Man, it's just so every year it's kind of deflating because it's 12-5 again. I don't know. What do you do, man? It's the same thing. Once again, like in the playoffs, we can't stop the run. Same Aaron Jones guy from 3 years ago who gashed us for 320, gashed us again, right up the middle.
It's like every year, the things we show badly against good teams in the regular season always comes back to bite us. It's like we never fix it. Our coaches never adjust to anything. And
it's the same thing every year.
Yeah, here we are again. I mean, and what sucks about the NFL, I've always said this, like I call it the NFL hope schedule cycle.
Yeah.
The NFL is genius in a way, and this is why Jerry's the richest man in the universe. Jerry Jones is.
Cowboys.
Sorry, have to.
But it's because he knows, right? Like you'll have your guts ripped out in January, but by the time August comes, you're so like hungry for football again that you'll like buy into the hype and the lie again. And you'll go down the stupid path again. And
so a couple questions. One, is Dak done? Are we done with the Dak experiment? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I'd like to be done with it. I don't think financially we can be done with it.
Yeah, because we're going to have to pay.
Like, literally, there's only, like, one guy in the history of the league, I want to say, that, like, really won something late in their career. I mean, okay, outside of Brady, who's a freak phenom.
Yeah.
The other big one was, like, when Peyton went to Denver.
I mean, Joe Montana tried, went to the Chiefs. Nope.
Yeah, so it's, unfortunately, the odds are against it ever happening with him.
Yeah.
Not to say it couldn't. But the problem is, I think he has every other good quality. He's a leader of men.
Yeah.
He's great. He understands the system. most touchdowns in the league this year. In every other way, he's good. But
never gets out in trouble.
It's like,
off the field, he's great.
But it's like when he gets into those high-stress playoff situations.
It's like Romo.
His brain just misses a beat. And it's hard to fix that.
It's like Romo, right?
Steve.
Sports.
Yeah, I hit the wrong button on both of those, but oh well. It just feels like every time the playoffs come, it's the same thing. What about Jerry Jones? Are you one of those guys that's like, hey, Jerry needs to go or be the general manager?
The problems are so deep. Oh my God, I don't even know if we have enough time for all this. But the problems are so deep that it's a culture thing. And yes, Jerry's originally responsible.
Yeah.
But it would take so much to uproot the problem is the culture is we're going to overhype you. We make the most money in all of sports. The richest franchise in all of sports.
And had one.
Not even Real Madrid. None of those soccer teams over there. No. Richest one in the sports. And every year, the minute anything goes good, everybody gets all sorts of press, hype.
Yeah.
And they're all marketing stuff. They got their separate brands. They're selling sunglasses. They're doing this. And so it's this country club ultra hype, thing. And then what does that do? That makes people work less hard, and it puts way more pressure on you by the time you go to the playoffs. Because now you've been expected to be the best team ever. And now when other teams are working hard, you're just kind of believing you're going to show up and that you're going to win because you're the Cowboys. And that's just not going to change anytime soon. What's going to change it? Here's what's going to change it. We have to actually get a group of players that those individual players in their own mind are just tough enough human beings that they ignore the ridiculousness of that hype and they win it in spite of the culture, in spite of the environment.
You think if Jerry Jones dies next year, Stephen Jones takes over?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Dude, they've stayed in the family for years. They've got multiple lines of succession, and Stephen's just like his dad, so it's not going to change.
One more Cowboys topic, and then I'd like to get into who you think is going to win the Super Bowl. But is it time for Michael Parsons to be a linebacker and not trying to rush the quarterback every play? Because I feel like if he stayed in home, we wouldn't be gashed for all these runs. And I think the other teams know that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. I think if he. That's how teams did it this year. We lean so heavily toward the pass rush, which is great when you're ahead. Like Dan Quinn's system is great when you're in the lead. It's great. The minute you're not in the lead, which can happen in playoff games.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have another plan to go to. We'd have plan A. Plan A gets blown out of the water. We have no plan B. And
that game was over within the first 3 drives. It was over. Yeah. The game was over. But so there's 4 teams left. It's the Lions and the.
And by the time you see this will be decided.
Yeah, Lions in San Francisco. Who you got now? I got the Lions.
Okay, there's who I want to win, and there's who I think is going to actually win, and they're very different in both cases.
Lions. You want the Lions?
I want the Lions to win it all.
Yeah,
period. The end.
I do too.
Okay.
Dan Campbell, man, Coach of the Year.
I just think once they go to San Francisco and Brent Shanahan and his wizardry and play calling, I just think he's going to figure them out, and they're going to run all over them or something, and they're not going to have the ball long enough for their offense to do well.
That's the thing with the Lions. They have to have the ball. If they don't have the ball, then they're not.
But if Deebo Samuel's, iffy, that helps the cause. So there's that one.
And then there's is it the Ravens and the Chiefs?
Ravens and the Chiefs. I don't know. I want it to be the Ravens just because I'm tired of the Chiefs and being boring.
You don't want to see Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, no.
Come on, man. Every other camera angle right to Taylor Swift.
And where is that one? Is that at Arrowhead or is that that's in Baltimore?
No, it's in Baltimore. The Chiefs have not played a home game yet.
Baltimore has a chance. They've got some past demons that I'm going to have to see Lamar beat those demons.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that actually happens.
I'm going Lions Chiefs. I think that's how it's going to do. I think the Chiefs are still that team. And
if I get what I want Lions Ravens and the Lions win it. But
Usher halftime at the Super Bowl.
Usher?
Yeah, Usher Raymond, and then
Usher song.
Really? And then
don't go listen to Usher songs every day. Why is that surprising to you?
You're up in this club.
You're I brush my teeth to Usher songs every day. What's wrong with you, Rito?
Yeah, what are you waiting on? And then Reba McEntire is doing the national anthem. And then Post Malone's doing God Bless America. I don't know why. I just have way too much information in my head.
Yeah, this guy.
Before we get to this next topic, and this could be a good transition, I am very proud of the NFL. There's a lot of gospel talk going on in press conferences. The quarterback for Houston.
Yeah.
What's his name?
CJ Stroud.
All over it. Every time he does an interview, the first thing he says is,
Jesus, yeah.
I like to thank God for the. And then Baltimore Ravens head coach is Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Even on his press conferences, he's been reading some scripture that they've been reading inside there. And also, I've heard it
Yeah.
for the 49ers. So I'm glad it's this young movement.
So yeah, even though the world tends to mock and diss on Jesus, like athletes that actually have all the pressure in the universe on them, seem to find him to be a nice place to go to with their to trust in him. You know,
can I testify here on this podcast? EWA?
I think you got to say it a little more adamant than that. You got to, you know.
Can I testify? I can't say it like you.
Oh my God. Can I testify? You gotta,
something like that.
Need a little something, man. Add a little oomph to that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I think so.
Man,
what's up? What's going on? What's on your heart, bro?
What's on my heart, bro? I got a problem with difficult people, man.
Oh, but they're easy. Wait, no, they're difficult. That's why they're called difficult people.
Difficult people are starting to get to me, man. I can't. You know, I heard a pastor at our church talk about how you're on a roller coaster sometimes with your faith, and you're really strong sometimes, and you're really low. I feel like when I'm in my lowest, it's because difficult people are getting to me more than they should.
Yeah.
What I mean by difficult people, my boss at work is just one of the most difficult. I shouldn't call him out on the podcast. He ain't listening. Trust me, he ain't listening. I would bet you $100 he might know. I can't talk to
this guy.
He might not know my last name. He'd have to look it up. And I worked there 2 years. He's just a very selfish, kind of to himself person. And then that's one of my biggest pet peeves. And then two, one of my other pet peeves is he's one of the kind of guys that calls you out when his base ain't correct. In other words, like, I wouldn't drive over here to your house with a dented car and a windshield all busted and bumper hanging off, and then criticize you about driving. Like, what? Why are you doing this to me? So I've had some difficult situations here at work here recently. Usually I handle that correct because I've been in the Bible and in the Word, but I feel like here recently it's been bothering me more. I don't know, man. And then just difficult people, and you get them everywhere. Your family, you get difficult people.
Those things can eat away at you.
Church, everywhere.
It can eat away at you, and I think the key is like having to kind of to reset and fill with good things. Like you said. I mean, if you have a lot of difficult people interactions and you're not ever, you get out of reading the Word, you get out of hearing some worship songs, you get out of just a good fellowship of your fellow brother. I know you had that stretch where you couldn't go to church for a little while because you're working Sundays. And it can start to. It's almost like in Ephesians they talk about the putting on the armor. So it's almost like you're walking around like with your armor hanging off. There was a cool '80s video game where you were like jousting or something. You knock pieces of their armor off. And that's totally like you at work. Like you're coming in, but like your breastplate's kind of half falling off.
Right. So it's easier.
Lost a shoulder pad, so it's easier for irritants to get in through the. But that's how we kind of build that stuff up. Is those things. And I'm the same way. Like I'll get. Yeah. I'll admit to this. I had like almost a Red Raiders incident after church one day. That's the worst time to do it too. Like,
man, you're right. But it's like after church, you're so filled with it.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things. It's like something had not gone well at worship that annoyed the tar out of me, and I just kind of kept it inside. And then, like, sure enough, I remember what I did. I was pulling into Cane's. We were going into Cane's, and I pulled in, and there was a car kind of coming out from where the Panera is.
So weird.
But they were like far enough away. Like me cutting in front of them didn't like
bother it.
It shouldn't have been a thing. But then they like honked at me, and I was like, like where the record scratches, and you're like, excuse me, like.
Where are you honking at?
Yeah, like I literally like stepped out of the car, opened the door, stepped out of the car, like, would you like to talk about it? Would you like to have a conversation? I'd love to talk. Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah.
And my daughter was in the car. I felt terrible. I was like, right after church.
I think I was telling you, I had some road rage or fast food rage too at Brahms. Right after, no one after church, but it was recently after. It's just like, it's just kind of hard, especially I feel like for our generation or old school, that we're so used to things being a certain way, and it's not the way anymore at all. And the attention to detail is not there as much as it was. The customer service is not there as much as it was. It's just like you have to lower your expectations anywhere you go now, and that's just so hard for me, man. I think in my life I would just always have been like, let's do better, let's get better. What can we do to be better? What can we do to be better? And though I don't feel like the world's expectations is not like that no more, especially after COVID. So dealing with stuff or people.
My wife's dealt with that with customer service with people, and I try to like tell her like, stop expecting good customer service everywhere. Like it'd be cool if there was. It'd be great if there was, but like, I mean, there's certain fast food restaurants I've gone to where like they barely look at you, like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like, here.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a customer. Like,
I paid you my money that I worked hard for.
like, try to be polite.
Yeah.
At least say, what are you doing?
What's the best way to handle difficult people? What do you do when you're in that situation? Because honestly, when I first started,
Well, obviously, I
going
don't
to
handle it
church,
perfectly, as I showed with my incident. But
when I first started going to church and just seeing men in general, you and I can name 100 of them. Just I'm very observant. If you figure that out, I watch y'all. And I think, man, these guys are always so calm in every situation.
Well,
wow.
I think a big deal of it is you have to
is the calmest person ever.
You have to have moments of like resetting. You have to have moments like kind of like where you went out to your special area, your rock. He goes and prays at a certain spot. I mean, and it's going to vary for each person, right? So you got to find a play. You know, for me, it might be coming home and playing with music, getting lost in music, getting lost playing guitar or something. You know, like
you got to have a hobby. Something.
Having somewhere to get out, and somewhere to successfully get out emotions too. Like I think it's like sometimes we think that just because we're believers, just because we can go to God and pray and read our word, that like we never have to get emotions out. Like we're still gonna have like angry emotion. And there's angry emotions. Read through the Psalms. I mean, that would be a great place. I would say, like, if you're gonna go to a specific spot, is go to like here's a pen.
We write this down. I'm learning this.
Go to Psalms, because there's so many times where David sounded just highly irritated at everything that's going on around him. And he'd be like, he'd always start crying out to God, like, God, why do you let the wicked get away with this? Why are my enemies laughing in my face? Why
And sometimes I'll do that. I've done that here recently.
And God can take it. Like I think sometimes we're like afraid. Like I don't want to show God my anger, my frustration. It's like no, like God can take. Jacob wrestled with God, like physically, like in some kind of form. He like literally wrestled all night with God, and like ended up getting his hip jacked up because of it. But that's one of those things. It's like you got to like go to God with your frustration. But when you read those Psalms, what you'll see is at the end of it, David always does a good job of coming back to but I trust you, God, and you're still good. Like things may be, all these bad things may be happening. I may feel like you've abandoned me. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm coming back to you, and I trust you, and I believe in your goodness, and I believe in your justice. That's the other thing. Like you have to kind of really like lean in and believe in God's justice. Yeah. And I think we don't want to do that because in our society we feel like justice always feels like judgment, which we as a culture have kind of turned our back on. Like, oh, you're judging me, man. You're judging me, bro. But like, God's judgment. I was hearing one guy, Mike Winger, that I keep telling you, listen to his podcast.
I think I downloaded it. Yeah.
He was talking about like, there's a part in Revelations where like they're doing judgment on somebody, the Babylon whore, the dragon. I don't remember all those crazy things. Like where God's doing deserved justice, right? Yeah. And these people. And like the people there, the like throng of people are like celebrating. They're happy. So in that instance, at some point, we'll catch up to God's justice to know it's actually good, and like to know that like. But on this earth, when we don't see His justice done, we get frustrated, right? When you see your boss treat like crap, when you see whatever, or when we see bad things happen to our friends, we'll talk about that later. But we're not seeing the justice here, and from our human, the part of us that like. And that's part of it. Also, you now understand it should be just because you're reading what God's justice is in the Word, but you're just not seeing it here. Yeah. And it's like, and that's the frustrating thing. Like, so it's just kind of like trusting that His justice will come. It will be perfect justice. Yeah. Everybody that deserves what they're getting will get it. And hopefully a few of them will change before then, and then their justice got delivered to Jesus on the cross.
Right. I think I've learned to deal with difficult people. Like family members or like we were saying, fast food places, and most of those times are I'll just like I'll take myself out of that situation. Like, you know what, I'm not going anymore. I'm not going to deal with that person no more. I'm going to distance that person more. But it's harder for me at work because like I have to go there and I have to deal with that guy. So you told me before, like I have whenever I'm around him. I started doing this like a couple of days ago after me and him had a little incident. It's like as soon as I see that guy, I got me an earpiece in, man. I got some Randall Lake, or I got some Phil Wickman in my ear the whole time, and I'm almost like not even listening to what he's saying because like he's one of those kind of guys that's like he doesn't have a conscience of what he's saying or doing, so I don't need to react to him. And then also a couple things I've learned. One is like you're saying, it's kind of weird. We've talked about this a lot here recently in a previous episode where how God talks to you. I was going through all that, and the next thing you know, I'll pull up a video. One of my favorite comedians is telling me how to deal with it.
Hey, God speaks in crazy ways.
That's how to get you. It's like basically saying, hey, you got to have something to look forward to once a week. Do it every once a week. And then all that other stuff that happens all the time, it won't matter because you're going to go back to that one thing that you have so much fun at, whether it be podcasting or
that's true.
stand up or you guitar. Drum.
I mean, really, that's like it's also self care. In mental health world, it's called self care. You have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
To stay in the right frame of mind, you know.
And then the second thing I've noted, I have to have a Bible app IV. I just have to have it constantly going, whether it be music or whether it be videos, whether it be, I've been watching a lot of Craig Rochelle here recently. Shout out to Craig Rochelle.
Dude, that's why I'm on the Mike Winger 20 question tip.
Yeah.
Like I'll just, when I'm shaving, when I'm doing anything in the bathroom or something, I'm just listening to good questions, good answers, and good, thinking through biblical things. And
I got back on doing some couple Bible app plans and stuff. That's been helping me too as well. But yeah, I just think, and then last thing before we get into the next thing here is about 2 nights ago, I actually didn't hear, sometimes you don't hear his word like audio, but you just do your brain or your dreams or your conscience. I heard confidence. I kept hearing the word confidence.
Interesting.
Confidence. And I woke up and I was like, wow. So I started reading about stuff in the Bible and confidence, and you got to have confidence in Him and grounded in Him first, and that's going to be your base. And then if you start having that base, then all these people are like, this guy at my job, he ain't gonna matter. Why am I worried about that guy? I wasted 6 hours.
Look at this guy. Like, first of all, I love that you get a word in your dream or whatever.
Yeah, it's confident.
And then
hearing it,
and you could have just left that at well, that's a weird thing to dream about. But I like that he goes right to the Bible, does a search,
and just
he's like, what can I find in your word about that?
Right, different people in the Bible that had confidence issues, and believe it or not, there was some just like me. And I feel like a lot of times, even we talked about this, doing the announcements or doing stand up. It's always kind of nervous, kind of energy. You gotta have confidence. Be confident, like David.
Yeah, that's a difference.
That's how I find my battles, man. Right to the Bible.
Hey, I feel that in worship too, man. Confidence, I remember playing at the homeless place. Like that's tough because you're sitting there in front of 150 to 200 guys there that look like they could at the beginning they could kind of care less, and you just got to go right in and start singing the song with energy, and it's like that's really hard to do. So you have to
I'd like to go with you one time if I could. Check that out. Even if I'm just like your roadie and I'm plugging stuff.
Hey, that would help.
I'm in.
Someone to carry that. So,
I'm in. The prison ministry stuff sounds fun too, but that's a different topic for one.
Actually, in a weird way, a prison was actually less intimidating than that place.
Really?
Because those guys are just hungry. They're like the Christian group within the prison, so they're excited when the minute you show up, so they're ready to go. So just a different kind of thing.
Just two different things, or
two different things, two totally different things.
Man, I do definitely have the bug for this app. You got me, man.
Look, I have a
appreciate it.
I have a confession to make.
Yeah.
I have spread the disease.
You did. You did. You knew it though.
I knew this guy.
Yeah.
This guy is
I got the ear.
I'm always trying to push friends into creative stuff.
Yeah.
I got another friend. Shout out to Rory if you ever watch this, but I'm always trying to get him back into music apps and music stuff. And so I was telling this guy, I was like, he's in the Android world, so there's a little less options there. But I was like, but I knew there was an app, that I thought he would dig because it's I've been playing around with electronic music and samplers and stuff for a while, the last maybe 2.5 years or something like that. And I just knew this guy. He's so wacky, and he likes audio clips. We used to listen to a sports radio station, and we still do, but and they kind of made famous the audio drop. Just kind of repeating things people have said or crazy things from news stories.
I was doing earlier. Yeah.
And so I told him about this app. So feel free to jump on from there.
What's it called? Koala?
Yeah, Koala Sampler.
Koala Sampler. Yeah, it's great. Basically, it's for all those kids in the 80s that had a keyboard, and you can make your own little beats and your own little noise there and play music into it. It's kind of like that, but it's obviously you can do it on a cell phone or a tablet, and basically it has preloaded drums and kits and snares, and you can play guitar beats and bass, and it's got make your own beats or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're in a rabbit hole. It's 3 hours later, and you're like, why am I making a sound to the microwave door opening? I don't understand why I did that. But yeah, it's got preloaded stuff, and then you can record your own music. You can change the volume. You can change the pitch. This guy will probably get more into the detailed stuff. But yeah, I just made a whole bunch of beats and been driving my family and my friends crazy with it, man.
Yeah, I mean, for $5 or $10 or whatever it is, it's
I was $4.99.
Yeah, I mean, there's some unlocks you can get for similar price, but still, it's It reminds me of like in Bob's Burgers, like the little boy is like one of my favorite characters, and he's always got this keyboard around where he's recording like fart noises in and stuff like that.
Yeah, I almost loaded a couple of those, but it was like, for Christian podcast.
But I mean, like, that's the first thing I did with that app when I first got it. I was like, I mean, I had other crazy apps, but I kept hearing about that app from other people.
Yeah, I love it.
A lot of people, I mean, a lot of people will like use that app, sample like parts of records, and then they'll put it together and chop it up into crazy ways, and you know, I remember like there was a point where there used to be this vibe among like quote musician friends and stuff that played instruments that, you know, they would kind of look down on like early hip hop stuff, or like they'd look down on people that use samples, you know, and like and to me it's like that's like craziness, because it's like, you know, all a sample is just a fragment of audio, and then like how you mix those together can be everything. Like, you know, I mean, if you've ever seen one of those paintings where somebody does with a bunch of like pixels or something, any one pixel may not be that exciting, but when they put it together in some crazy way, and now you got a whole picture out of it. To me, that's what working with samples is. And
I mean, even Led Zeppelin had issues back when they first started about how they were stole some sampling some, was it Robert Johnson or a couple of those guys in the earlier, where they would like take their songs, and it's kind of hard, you know. But yeah, those early rappers, that's all they made it between Dre and, you know, Timberland and all those guys. All they would do, even Lil Wayne, sometimes you hear some Lil Wayne song, you're like, wait a minute, all that is that song reversed.
It's kind of fun. Like sometimes they'll actually like go through and someone will like separate and play you all the little samples inside one of the songs, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, how did you get that from that? Like, that's, and to me, that's like the artistry and the fun. To me, it's just creative. Yeah. It's like flexing your creative muscle. Like, there's really no downside to it. And if you come up with total crap, you come up with total crap. Like, I like that you can sit there in the car, you're bored, you're waiting on your wife. Yeah. You can start doing beatbox noises, you know.
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Start making beats and stuff.
I don't know what that is.
Exactly.
Cowboys.
Sports.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, man.
So yeah, so I mean, like, I was excited that he finally took the plunge.
It's you can change everything on there. It's got a keyboard. You can change the pitch, high, low.
Now I'm gonna warn you, bro. Here's the warning.
This is just the beginning.
Oh, I know.
it's like
I mean, I can see where that would get in trouble.
And that gets into like where, but the cool thing is if you stay with software, it tends to be cheaper than hardware. You know, hardware like the sampler that I'm playing this music on is pricier than. So, you know, but that's the cool thing is like it's gotten to the point now where like the barrier has broken down to where the average guy in his like living room with a laptop can make like pretty high level music
like you made
for
this
not
beat.
Too much money, you know, and
it's nice,
you know. And the trick though is like the more of those tools you get, it's awesome. You get all this flexibility. You can kind of make anything under the sun. But then you run into the other problem of like you almost have too many options. You know, there's a lot of guys that when they get on a computer with all the options, they call it, you know, analysis paralysis. You know, where you just
less is more.
So then you figure out that like, okay, if I actually limit myself, I can actually be more creative. Right. And that's actually true. They've even scientifically proven that like if you give people less options, they will like invariably be way more creative than people that had more tools and more options.
Because then you're putting too much on there. I even found this on this basic one. Like, I'm not making nothing like this yet, but even this basic one's like, man, it's got too much. Yeah. Take some of that off. It doesn't need all.
Yeah, you start realizing like, you know, space in music, or you know, it's a good thing. Like leaving some room, you know, not overcluttering
Taking
things.
The bass out a little
but those are like all the things you'll learn that. Like so over the next few years, as you start down the rabbit hole, like you'll start learning that stuff. And who knows, this guy like within a year or two, he might be pumping out some pretty just dope beats. And, you know.
Little John. Yeah, you never know. Yeah, like this one right here is nice. So you just start out with just bass, and then you add and add and add. Yeah,
it's just like layers upon layers, and then
like you said before, it's almost kind of like putting a music puzzle together, and like, is it too much? Is it too much? But yeah, there's it's crazy.
To me, there's a spiritual component to it all. Like I feel like, you know, our God is the creator. We're made in God's image. Yeah. I think everybody is more creative than they think they are.
Oh yeah. You know, like everybody has something.
My wife used to think she wasn't very creative, and then we just found out like, you are creative, just not in the same area I'm creative. Like, like she can go and do like creative things for hospice patients to entertain them or to make them feel loved, and it's so creative of things that like no other volunteers ever came up with those things. And they're like, dude, where'd you come up with these ideas? You know, or she'll come up with the crafts for the Sunday school kids. And it's like, dude, like again, like everybody's creative, and really like in my opinion, just my opinion, this isn't in the Bible per se, but my opinion is that if you don't find and use your creativity, you're kind of like not fully doing what God designed you to do. You know, so that's the cool thing is you can use your creativity as a form of worship, right? Like I'm going to worship you, Lord, by just trying all these things and experimenting and finding the right thing, and then I think God will like lead you down to your particular niche, right? So whatever your niche could be, you might be, you know, dirty beats and funny sounds. Your niche might be, you know, whatever, like mixing in comedy to songs to, I mean, there's all sorts of niches you could have, and
like Tim Hawkins,
you know, and that's to me, that's always been the struggle is trying to find out where exactly my niche should be, because I dabble in so many areas, trying to narrow it down to like what I should actually focus on. That I struggle with that to this day. So.
Yeah, well, I think I figured I narrowed mine down to a couple. It's definitely trying to be funny in front of people, or engaging people, or like, it's not a brag, but like, I feel this at work and at home sometimes, and even sometimes at church is like, if I can change the temperature of the room quick. Like if I'm in a good mood and I'm chipper and happy, I can all of a sudden everybody else is. But if I'm like down, vice versa.
Yeah,
that's a blessing and a curse sometimes. So we'll get to that a different time. But yeah, I just feel like
you're very open and transparent, and I can be the same way sometimes. You know, if I'm in a foul mood, it's hard for me not to be in that foul mood. I've gotten highly annoyed at Thursday night practices before, like just where I suddenly started singing a worship song in death metal voice or something because I was so frustrated. It's like,
this is how I fight my battle.
Which, by the way, I still want to come up with a death metal worship album. Like that would be the best thing ever.
Man, I still
nothing but worship covers, something like that.
Yeah, I hear a lot of secular songs a lot of times and thinking, man, you could change that. They're talking about Jesus. They're not talking about.
This guy likes to change the words and just and Jesusify.
Like word out. I wish one of these days.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, I'm happy for you. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun, and down the road get a computer, get some other software, and like you're gonna be just like cutting it up, and then we can collaborate.
Yeah.
Because I don't really have anyone to collaborate. I really need like at least one or two more buddies to get into all this stuff. So then we can like send each other starts of ideas and build on each other's ideas. And, like for me, like my two biggest influences with all this stuff. One's very kind of positive-ish, and one's kind of negative-ish, but. It's Beck and Trent Reznor of 9 Inch Nails.
Oh, yeah.
You know, both. Again, Trent gets a little too dark for me. Like, especially now, I can't really go that far down his dark hole where he is. But but as far as just how he mixes the sounds, is like genius a lot of times. Yeah. And then Beck is the other one. It's like that guy has mixed every genre known to man.
I wanna pray. Yeah.
I mean, you know, he got famous for Loser, but you know, but since then he's done a trillion albums, and you'd probably recognize more of his songs than you'd even realize.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
But yeah, like so, you know, hopefully I can do something, a portion of what they do, but do it for the glory of God. You know, do it to Christ.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, that'd be awesome. One night to have it at music night at church, and you could DJ it. That'd be awesome.
I like what he's talking about here, church DJ, and not the kind of DJ that the mega churches have out the
excuse me,
the auditorium, the walkway.
Always positive.
Always. Hey, speaking of staying positive, look at this Segway guy. Is he professional or what?
AKA Segway guy.
He's been getting confidence from his dreams, and now he's a pro broadcaster up in here.
Man.
But no, like, dude, like one thing I've been struggling with lately, this is as far as trying to keep positive, is we've had like, there's just been a slew of people in my life recently that I care about.
Yeah.
That are just going through crap over and over, man. And it's like, they're just going through bad stuff and just situation. I mean, and it goes years back. I mean, you can start with my sister. Like, love you to death. I love her to death.
Yeah.
But she always kind of like was in some bad situation, had bad news all the time. And it's like, could anything ever go right for you? Is that even possible? Like
some parent stuff going on right now too. Yeah, I get you.
And then like, you know, and then our buddy Frank, shout out Frank 2.
Frank number 2, yeah.
We call him Frank 2 because we had a Bible study. We already had a Frank, so he came in later and he started. We had Frank 1, Frank 2, but so Frank 2. I mean, that guy like between personal, the family drama.
It's all at one time for him.
And then his whole body just kind of broke down all at once. Financially broke down, like everything that could. It was Job-esque because it was so Job.
Very Job.
And it's like, and then that sucks because you really want to like, man, you want to just have this like fun, dynamic friendship with somebody, but like every time you hang out with them, they've just got more bad news and more needs.
like
Bad news,
draining,
needs. Bad news, needs. Bad news,
draining.
needs.
You're like, you don't want it, but you don't want it to be that way.
Yeah,
so.
like, but yeah, and in a lot of ways, like at least right now, this person can't help it. Now, decisions in the past might have led down this road, and maybe dealing with consequences, maybe here and there, but you don't know how, as a friend, to like how to be a brother in Christ, how to encourage, but also not get taken advantage of, how to like, how to walk that line between being that, you go to you go to Scripture, you go to Acts, and they're helping each other, but it seemed you don't see situations to where somebody in Acts had a friend that was going through all this stuff for such a long time, and then how do they cope with that over time? And after maybe they had some initial generosity or helping them out, but it's just trying to figure out like how to navigate that and how to like keep encouraging them so that they don't get disconnected and fall into the traps of the enemy, and how to how to do that. And the other one that we've had recently, our pastor Amon, who's the drops out at the beginning for, he's been just one kicking the crotch after the other with health and sickness in the family. He just had pneumonia. He's in a situation, don't work, don't get paid, and it's like, man, like, and then I know, you've had plenty of situations with family and that similar things, either parents, brothers,
something always
this, that, and the other, and it's like, it's just so hard. It feels like to stay positive and to stay like, just everything's good, chipper, which I think is a shame anyway. The fact that people think that when we show up to church, we have to all be like, hey, I'm happy Christian. Everything's great in my life.
Nothing happens to me ever.
Yeah,
I'll never stump my toe and almost say a cuss word ever.
Yeah, where it's like, when people ask how are you doing, you just want to say, it's kind of crappy. Like, I'll be honest, it's kind of crappy. I had Jesus. That part's awesome. Yeah. I know where I'm going. Like, I know confidence in my path. But it's like, man, in the moment, it's just like, it can drag you down, man. It's like, I struggle with that.
When you're having those problems, it's also kind of a weird thing, too. And you're like, man, I don't really want to put these burdens on other people. Yeah. But then again, you're like, that's why you go there.
Yeah. I mean, we're
supposed to tell them all that stuff. You're supposed to tell them everything. Hey, I have this problem with this. I have a problem with, whatever, it could be a substance abuse, or I have a problem with, porn, or I have a problem. You're supposed to go there. I think as men, sometimes we're like, nah, I got this. You don't want to tell anybody anything.
Yeah. It's, we're supposed to share burdens, I think what's interesting is like, I've found sometimes in being on the worship team is that sometimes we end up almost like subconsciously sharing our burdens through certain songs, like I've seen people.
Sunday I heard that.
I've seen people.
I was like, wow.
There's certain songs I sing, like worthy.
I can tell the change in your voice.
Like "Worthy of My Song" has a bridge in the middle that I can like sing it without tearing up in rehearsal all day long. But man, the minute Sunday happens, like I can't get through that song without getting emotional. And then like I know like another one, like Nita has the one we're actually, I want to say the one we're singing this week. You Know My Name.
Oh man.
Like that one's real emotional for her. I remember one week, she was like, I didn't realize what she was going through. Yeah. And she like, but that song like just hit her, and she almost had to stop and take a second, because it's like, you don't realize like we're all carrying all these burdens just all over the place.
All over the place.
And then there's people in the congregation that are carrying burdens, and sometimes they hear a certain song or they see you unloading about a burden, and then that like opens the floodgates for them to like realize that they're under burden, and
It's crazy. You have all kind of different people who will tell you stuff and who won't. You have some people that are holding stuff that will hide it. Then you have people like me and like Malcolm, for example, that will tell you everything. Yeah. If we could.
But I think that one scripture where Jesus says, take on my yoke, you who are weary and burdened, basically, for my yoke is light. And I think, man, that's the like, we could almost all get like a tattoo of that one. It's so just.
I'm in on tattoos for real.
That's you're in on tattoos?
I've been wanting to get a Bible verse or a scripture or something.
Hey, write down future topic. We need to have we need to have tattoo chat.
Tattoo chat.
That can actually be very controversial to some people in the church. But
yeah, Brandon Lake's got them all over his arms.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd like to. We'll have to go the whole spiel on.
Yeah.
When tattoos? Why? When's too old? When's too? Who's too cheap for tattoos?
Yeah.
Might be me, but anyway. Yeah. We got a whole tattoo chat there, but.
So whenever you have all this stuff, you like, so one person's throwing a burden on you, and then say me, and then another one, because obviously God gave you and other people that gift of listening. How do you have all those on you and still stay positive, or still stick with your own stuff? Or
I just think for me, sometimes I just have to get away into places, so I have to kind of like
go in their room, shut the door, and grab a guitar. And
I mean, music is the greatest escape to me in a way, like, and it always has been. I mean, even in childhood when things were bad, or
grab the guitar,
just having issues with my stepdad or something, or this or that, or my parent or my dad or something. But music was a good escape, and I liked it because it's like you can actually express emotion in it,
Yeah.
And generally speaking, I've always written more sad sounding parts than I've never been an overly like happy bubbly part guy, So I'll have a lot more things in minor key than major key, generally speaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I have to kind of get away and have that self time to kind of.
That's why I want to get those.
Builds your energy back up.
I think those drums will help me too. Take some aggression out.
Yeah, drums are great for definitely for aggression. Like you coming home after the boss and
usually I turn the PlayStation on and do home run derby and hit home runs. So a punching bag or a drums or something like that.
The other thing that's big with that, and I'll be honest with you, and I've been trying. That's why part of why I gave you the bike. But
I've been riding the bike. I have been riding the bike.
So I'll say this: physical activity.
I have been riding that bike. Yeah.
Physical exercise literally does stuff to your brain chemicals.
It does. I have been riding that bike
to help ease stress.
Yeah.
So if I'll go out, I'll go out on my skates. I'll throw in some cool music in my buds.
Yeah.
And just cruise and just get into the flow of that and you'd be amazed. It's like therapeutic as heck, and you'll come back literally way less bogged down, way less angry, way less all that. And it's just because because if you don't, all that energy is just trapped in your body, and if you do nothing with it physically, I mean, honestly, I think that's part of what gives people ulcers, it gives people cancer, it gives people heart conditions. I mean, there's research about all that stuff that if you trap frustration in your body, it's a horrible thing for you, And I think God wants us to get it out. I mean, I think that's why God likes us to be expressive, and that's why there's so many times in the Old Testament where they're weeping and they're tearing their clothes and they're wearing sackcloth and ash, and they're doing very physical things. Tearing your clothes. I mean, that's a physical act of just I'm frustrated or blasphemy or this terrible. What are you saying?
I'm tired of this.
So no, I don't recommend, Steve, that you just rip your shirt, at work. Whenever
Hulk Hogan, you know what? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Just rip my shirt off.
That's what I think about your overbearing manager style.
Is this guy a wrestler?
And then they're going to tell you to snap into a Slim Jim. It's going to go a whole different direction.
Oh, yeah.
That you meant to. So.
Yeah, for sure.
So, man, I think just to bring it back to the...
By the way, before we get into this last segment on the last podcast, I owe you guys an apology. I just took off Chris about this time of the show.
Yeah.
It's just because I'm old and I had to go to the men's room.
He had 40-year-old man bladder.
Yeah, I did.
It was awesome.
I'm good today. I made sure.
Yeah, he...
took care of that before, so...
He was very wise, very smart.
Always positive.
So yeah, man, last thing we're gonna hit, just a quick fun thing. We did a top 5, bottom 5 of decades before.
Yeah, we did the 90s last time.
Did the 90s. And that time I think we actually had time to think about it. Today
we're gonna do off the cuff. Let's do this. Sometimes
no planning.
It's better.
No planning.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do top 5, bottom 5 about the 80s today.
All right.
80s,
so
we were all kids in that age, in that era.
You wanna do bottoms or tops first? We'll do tops.
Yeah,
bottom, or are we in positive? I don't know. I would say we'll do tops. It's easier to fill those off. So the top things, I mean, of course, this one will be obvious, but man, the music, people are going to say that, some people might put this on the bottom as music, but I think the music in the 80s was great. I mean, you had Huey Lewis, Phil Collins, a lot of early techno instrument stuff going on in the 80s, and you had Aha, and you had Michael Jackson killed it in the 80s.
So since we're gonna agree, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in. Anytime we agree, I'm jumping in. We need to each mark to make sure we keep track of how many we got here. But I'm with you on the music. There's something, the hooks and the catchy hooks of the pop music of the 80s is almost unrivaled.
People hate on the Migos music. The music was horrible.
It sticks in your head. I mean, the Aha song. I mean, there's, and it was the first time they used synthesizers and rhythms and gated reverb and all this stuff in a certain way. we had used synthesizers prior to that, but it was more of a trippy kind of out there Pink Floyd-y kind of way.
Yeah.
That was kind of the first time where synthesizers were like predominant instrument,
Yeah.
To the point that now when somebody like The Weeknd comes out, we call it, we like that retro sound. And
I love The Weeknd.
It's retro because
The Weeknd's amazing.
it ties back totally to that sound, right?
Yeah, that's why I like him. Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, yeah.
Tears for Fears.
Tears for Fears, yeah. And even some of the early Van Halen was in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Stop me if I'm lying.
And that music was like not generic. Like it puts you in a time and a place.
Right.
Very well. Like it when you hear 80s music, you go right back. It's like when you smell your grandma's cooking or something. Like you go right back to that spot.
Yeah.
It's very observable.
And the segue into my second one, the movies in the 80s was great because a lot of the music was very involved in it. Like if you take the Breakfast Club, for example, all those great songs in there. Karate Kid. Was that Peter Cetera? I am the man who will fight. All that. So, I mean, to me, music and movies are maybe two obvious ones, but I'm always been an 80s.
Well, back then, if you think about movies back then, it had just kind of gotten to the point of being like legit, like as far as the production level from where it was in the 70s and 60s, and it wasn't yet to the point where now it's on so many platforms and streaming and this. Like,
it was a big deal.
Like back then, going to the theater was like a massive deal, and it was
Star
such a treat.
Wars came out in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean,
was a big deal.
Prime of Star Wars,
Police Academy.
Yeah, the dude with the crazy mouth sounds and Police Academy.
And then just all the great Romance of the Stones, all kind of great 80s.
Like John Candy. Who's the famous comedian?
Oh, Steve Martin.
Well, Steve Martin was big. But
John Candy.
Yeah, he was in
the 80s. Yeah,
he's the one with. He was in Trains, Planes, Automobiles.
Bigger dude. Yeah, both those guys were.
Yeah.
Uncle Buck and
all that stuff. Bill, what's his name?
Bill Murray.
Yeah,
a lot of great 80s movies, man.
Good stuff.
Ghostbusters was in the 80s. Right.
Yeah.
So you agree with the movies?
I agree with the movies. So I'll give you my second one is going to be, well, I don't know if I want to count that as my movie. I'm agreeing with you having
there you go.
My second one, I'm going to go with the technology of like when the Walkman hit. Like several of the technologies, but the boombox and the Walkman specifically, right? Because when those hit, man, nobody had that before. In the 70s, you couldn't carry your record player around. So, like, just being able to carry, like, a boombox.
Yeah.
The boombox was the bomb. Dude, you had battery power. You could bring it outside. You could just...
Yeah.
You had the smaller ones, the bigger ones.
Yeah.
And at that age, it was, like, the first time we had that, and it was magical.
Wow.
And then the first time I remember I got my first, like, Walkman. It wasn't like a Sony Walkman. It was
Tape?
With some other brand, cassette.
Yeah.
Mine actually had, like, even, like, some built-in speakers in the back. That was cool.
Yeah.
But, like, man, the fact that you could actually...
Yeah.
The fact that you could put on headphones and, like, jam out to, like, Beastie Boys or Fat Boys or Run DMC, and your parents didn't have to hear it. Like, meanwhile, my mom's cranking, like, Whitney Houston or something.
Cool J. I had an LL Cool J tape that I used to hide and listen to. Yeah.
So I guess it's tied to the music, but to me, that technology was, like, super exciting at the time.
Yeah.
Like, so.
I would say that's a good one. I mean, what else is good in the 80s? I mean, is that when the microwave came out? Yeah. In the 80s. I think it was actually made in the 70s, but it was made bigger in the 80s.
I want to say, like phone technology. Didn't we have, like, answer machines and the first cordless phones?
So, yeah, I think as far I'm going to go with household technology. As far like the microwave was a big deal in the 80s.
And I'll go with you. You can mark me on that one, too.
Popcorn makers became a bigger deal, and then all of a sudden you got answering machines. As far as, like, household technologies, was kind of grew in the 80s.
And again, the wireless phone or the cordless phones, that seemed high tech at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if we had them or if I just had friends that had them, like, that's legit. Here's another one. I'm gonna go with toys.
Oh, toys.
Dude, Transformers, heyday. G.I. Joe, heyday. Man, all that's the Hot Wheels with the tracks. Boom.
The little track, you squeeze a gun and you go too fast and go.
Yeah, dude.
Car would take off somewhere. Yeah.
Because again, even if you couldn't afford all of them, or even if you were like me and your parents got you GoBots instead of Transformers or whatever, you still had a friend. Everybody had a friend.
Everybody had that friend or
that had like Optimus Prime or had the hovercraft or had
Yeah.
And so that was just like.
I think I'm gonna agree with you on that one. So that's 4 and 4. So I mean, does video games count in that same category? Because Nintendo came out in '85, so I don't think it's the same category.
I'm gonna say a weird one. This is really weird. Okay.
What are you gonna say?
But I feel like it was exciting at the time. The kind of Cold War vibe between U.S. and Russia.
I was about to say, there's some kind of politics there with Reagan, I'm sure.
Like, I just feel like there was just feeling of, it was such like, U.S. is good, Russia's bad or evil. there was just this vibe that like it could all throw down, and there would be, like some people would say that as negative, obviously, but just the fact that like there was danger. You had movies like War Games with hidden bunkers, and like there's just this certain like excitement and mystery of just like it's us versus the Russians. Like I don't know. I enjoyed the rivalry. You know, it was like a rivalry. You know?
I agree with that too. So what about bottom five?
Bottom five?
There's no internet.
You say that on any.
There's no internet. There was no internet. There was no internet. There was not. You weren't connecting to anything. You had to read the newspaper, man. You had to wait till Sunday and be like, oh, you know what? What happened in that game Thursday?
Yeah, hard to get information. Okay, fair enough. One that I was gonna say, like the obsessive materialism of the '80s. Like it was just very much kind of soulless materialism for a while. You know, where it's just like, I mean, you had it obviously with. The Material Girl Madonna. I mean, Material Girl, but it's just very much about like it became all about like Wall Street and business and I remember at that time people were afraid of we'd all go to robots and robots would be taking over and all that.
Yeah. What about fashion? That was horrible in the '80s. I feel.
Yeah, there was some
haircuts to like what are you wearing to.
Yeah, the haircuts were pretty bad. I mean, like
what?
I still have a soft spot for parachute pants and the Michael Jackson jacket, the zipper jacket,
the black or the red one.
But I will say this: like outside of that, if we're gonna go fashion, give me women's shoulder pads. That's terrible.
In the jacket, what's up with the shoulder?
Dude, it was everything. It was jacket, the blouse, the shirt, like the Golden Girls look, which everything is like
Golden Girls.
Hey, which was like some weird thing of women trying to look stronger or something. They were trying to. That was just weird. Like,
I
thought that was a bad look.
I mean, cars maybe. I mean,
cars were pretty weak in the '80s.
I was gonna say you have like a gap, like that's a 1965 Chevrolet, it's a 1970,
like,
and then you get
everything
futuristic in '90s and 2000s. But like, no one there was that's a 1985 Ford Fairmount.
Yeah, in the '80s, it was a bad design period. You went from the bigger, cool, pimped out designs of the '70s, and nothing was streamlined yet. So you had these weird.
Little boxy small, compact, boxy cars,
Datsuns and stuff rolled around.
And you'd be rolling in the back seat of the mirror and everything. Maybe that's the other one. There's not a lot of safety or like safe or like going around the '80s as far as like your house. You could just leave your door unlocked in the '80s, man. My door was never locked. That could be a good thing and a bad thing. It could be a good thing because you didn't have it that much as far as like stuff going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a different decade than the '90s for sure, and '70s. It almost kind of feels like a weird kind of like. It was weird, but it was also good. It gets hated on the most. I feel the '80s does. Phil,
and I feel like even though I'm gonna put in this category, even though it was an innovation and it led to the explosion in the '90s, I feel like the computer scene was pretty weak in the '80s. We talk about. I mean, we have nostalgia of the Apple II and the Commodore 64 and the Tandy 1000 and some of this like everybody kind of remembers their first like home computer or maybe a friend's first home computer.
Yeah, I do.
And it was kind of fun playing Magic versus Larry on the computer and
old ridiculous
graphics.
Yeah.
But I mean overall, if you look back, generally they were way more hassle than they were worth sometimes.
Wow. Yeah.
Having to load the floppy disk and it's just.
Yeah.
It was just
you almost had to like be really computer savvy. You get to type in it'd be a DOS system, and you'd have to type in stuff. You'd have to know all that, or have a friend.
They hadn't got down to the user Windows 95 hadn't come out yet. We didn't have any or even Windows 3.1 hadn't come out yet. So everything was like DOS prompts and floppy disks and
obviously economy wise it was probably cheaper then to do anything. A loaf of bread and milk was probably not what it was.
It's hard to say, man. Our parents were so good at hiding. I mean, we didn't have that much, but
I love the '80s. There's a show on MTV or is it on VH1? I love the '80s. I check that out sometimes. But yeah, the '80s it has goods and bad, like everything. But for the most part, I love the '80s. Actually, that's kind of like where I grew up. That's when I was mine.
If you like the '80s, the Goldberg is a pretty good one to watch. That show, have you ever watched?
Oh yeah.
A
lot of good TVs in the '80s. We didn't get to that. There's all kind of great TV shows in the '80s for sure. Alf.
Yeah, that could have been up there. The sitcom Chips, A-Team.
A lot of good TV shows created in the '80s.
And back then, they also all had a distinct song.
Oh yeah, the music was. That's what I'm saying earlier. Music and
so that's
TV
like a bonus.
And music and
that's our bonus.
TV and music and movies. I feel like we're way more connected in the '80s and '90s than they are now.
Yeah.
I think it's just more watered down now.
I think you just nailed it. Now we have way too many people doing it, way too many options, way too many channels, way too many streaming services.
Yeah.
That like none of them are that special anymore.
It's a future topic. Streaming services. I mean, you gotta have one for everything. Like you got rid of the cable,
Like,
but
where
now
will
you
that
gotta have
go?
19 of them. If you want to watch that, it's on that. You gotta watch it, it's on this.
Hey, I'm gonna give a tease. We're almost done here, but I'm gonna give a tease. We're gonna in future episodes soon. We're gonna do streaming talk.
Yeah, I'm in.
And the other one I kind of meant to get to today, we didn't have time. I want to talk AI. All right.
Yeah,
so if you're scared of AI, if you worship AI like it's a savior, I mean, there's all sorts of views on AI.
Yeah.
It's all over the news right now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk AI. How does that affect Christians?
Yeah. Right.
Does that in any way change how God's relationship to humans or anything? Or
are they gonna take over?
Yeah.
Robots gonna be
we've never done
charge?
a topic tease, but we're doing a topic tease for a future episode. So you have to pay attention.
I'm in on that. That sounds good to me.
So yeah. On that note, man, I think we get a little prayer and do like a Mary Lou Retton dismount here.
I'm in.
So, Father God, we just thank you that we can get together, just that I have the fellowship with my brother here, and Lord, I pray for more of that. Lord, I pray that you, just help fix and repair the lives of so many people we know suffering, Lord.
Yeah.
That just right now, you heal them, you financially get them on their feet, you give them better jobs, Lord. You do all those things, Lord. Not just so we can sit comfortably and just ignore you and just live in a hedonistic pleasure zone, Lord, but just that we can be freed up enough of those burdens to go out and spread your message, Lord, and tell people who you are and tell people why we love you, and that they should learn to know you and get to know you, and that they will love you just as much, Lord. And we thank you for everything you've done, for all the technology that makes anything like this possible, and we just praise you and thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, amen.
All right, everybody, have a great day.